Hey, it's the Tech Marine here again, back with another video. This time I'm going to do a quick tutorial on transfers or the decal sets. So I've got a couple sets here, and what I'm going to be doing today is be adding the decals to this Fallen Marine here. He's going to be a Fallen Dark Angels. So basically some of the steps I go through. So first, you're going to need a few supplies. You're going to need some of the Ard coat. These two, I guess, are kind of a decal solution that you can find online. They're pretty popular. Usually when people ask for tips on what to use for decals, this is one of the #1 things that comes up that is suggested. It's a micro set and micro saw, and I'll go over more detail on the usage of those in a minute. And then finally the Lamian medium. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, so the first step, what you want to do is you want to take some of the Ard coat, shake it up nice and good, and then you're going to put a nice quick coat over where you want your decals to go. I find what this does is it helps add kind of a more of a stickier, I guess, kind of area for the decals to adhere to, which will help everything get that more painted on look, so it doesn't look like you just have a decal on there, so you don't see the edges to it. Now it's going to have a little bit of gloss and everything to it because it is that kind of it's supposed to be like that sealant type of stuff. So if you want to seal your paints, I usually don't seal my whole model up. I only use it for this, and we'll go over that. So on this particular model, because of the way that it is, I've got kind of this piece here that, so the whole decal won't be on there, so I'm gonna have to cut the decal to kind of fit under, so like it's going underneath that. And then here I'm just gonna go, since it's not the full shoulder pad because it's the bottom, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna have it fold underneath because you're not gonna see it anywhere, and that way I don't have to mess around with cutting too much and make it pretty simple. On a regular Marine shoulder pad, it should be quite a bit easier because you won't have that type of issue there. You may, depending upon what type of shoulder pad you use over here, you may have to work around it, but we'll just go through that. Okay, so now I've got my decals here cut out. He's just going to be a kind of regular tactical Marine, so I got the Dark Angels symbol for the tactical Marines, and then I have a #3 because he'll be part of the 3rd company, because my Dark Angel armies I paint them all as 3rd company. And then this is the sword with the wings symbol, but cut kind of almost in half to fit on there. Now the next part is going to take with these here. Now I have them marked #1 and #2. It kind of depends on where you look online. I think a lot of people say you use the micro saw first, then the micro set. And I've heard other places. I've had the most luck with using micro set first, and then following up with micro saw. I'm just trying to see. I mean, just reading the bottles here. I mean, it says it's a setting solution for decal, softens decal and improves adhesion, and is also can be used as a decal remover. This is a setting solution for decals, soften decals to conform to irregular surfaces for a painted on look. But like I said, I use this one first, and then I follow up with that. So the first thing I do is I take an old brush. I don't use any new brushes. I'm not sure if it would necessarily ruin them, but you don't want to take a chance on any of your good brushes. So just get a good amount on there, and then what I do is that I just go over the area a couple times and get a good amount on there. And then you're going to take the decal that you want to use and use this on the back of it instead of using water or anything like that. to soften it up the paper or the decal so you can slide it on over. And then once you get it there, just kind of use my finger a little bit to kind of slide it down. Some people like to use tweezers and such. You can do that. Yeah, and then just kind of use the brush and kind of paint it slowly onto the model. Just doing this nice and easy. Okay. And kind of need to push it a little more down into place. And there it is. Now I'll put another coat of it on. Just make sure it is where I want it. And so as you can see, I've got it on there. I think it looks pretty good so far. Now, so what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to let that dry before you put the next on, because what it's gonna help do is it's gonna kind of dry and shrink a little bit, so it won't be kind of bumpy as it kind of appears now. But it'll conform a little bit more to it, and then you can put the microsol on there. So yeah, so let me go ahead and I'm gonna do this other side now. So I'm gonna do the same principles. Get a good amount of it on there. Okay, now I want the arrows. And when you cut the decals off, I always try, and I don't know if you can see that, I try to cut it fairly close to the actual decal so you don't have a lot of excess material to work with, so you just basically have just the decal. This stuff isn't really like corrosive or really irritating to the skin, but if you'd like to use gloves or something like that, you definitely can. It does have a very strong vinegar smell to it, so this one actually coming up a little easier. Okay. Alright, so I got that on there now. Again, this will be one of them that will have to shrink, and then that microsol, because it's kind of got this, you know, if you use I use regular scissors. If you use an X-Acto knife, you can kind of get in there more and get this little bit of clear decal that I had in there off, which would make it sit a little bit better, but it's not too bad. So let me go there and just press it a little bit, make sure it gets in there nicely. Okay, now on this one, because I want to use the number 3, I'm going to add a little bit more to it. I want to make sure that I got this number 3 here, the right side up. It gets it quite a bit easier to see once you add the solution to it. It gets the background nice and dark. Okay. go. There we go, and I got the number 3 on there now. Alright, so we'll let that dry and then we'll come back to the next step. Okay, so it's dried some now. The next step is you're going to add the micro saw, and this is going to, as the bottle says, give that painted on look. Most of this does is it kind of melts the decal. The clear parts kind of melt away, but then the painted parts are really going to melt into the paint that's already on the model, and that's going to give it a very painted on look. And what this will also kind of do is if you have a texture paint or any kind of texture going on with the model, it's gonna really kind of get in that same texture as the rest of the model. And so I do is I put a decent amount on here, and then I just let it dry. I don't want to mess with it too much, because as it starts to adhere itself to the model, it's, you know, if you mess with it more and more, you'll start losing part of the decal, and you definitely don't want that to start flaking apart and all that on you. Alright. So we'll let this settle, and then we'll be right back for the last step. Okay, so on to the last step here. You can still see there's still a bit of shine to the shoulder and everything. So what we're going to do next is use the lamy and medium to knock that shine back down so it matches the rest of the model. And then as you can see over here, this is a product of what can go wrong. So I definitely suggest to practice on everything, and since this is a casualty and you really won't see it anyway, it's fine. But I got a little overzealous with it before it was completely dry, and this kind of half of the arrow ended up getting scraped off. Like I said, it won't be a huge issue since the model, you know, it sits laying down and it's a casualty, so you really won't see that part of it. But again, it's important to kind of play around, get some test models, and maybe try out the different decals on just flat surfaces before going on to other kind of contoured and textured surfaces with this. And that way you can just get a feel for it. And it kind of, you know, once you get comfortable, you can move on to more and more trickier stuff. And even still, you'll make mistakes, and it's pretty easy to correct them. If you have to, you can again use the micro set here, put it on there, let it sit for a while, and then just remove the decal and try it again. Alright, so I'm going to put just some lamy and medium over it. So I'm going to go over the decal, and I'm also going to kind of go over the shoulder area as well, because I kind of extend the art coat a little bit more over the whole shoulder rather than just the decal, just so I know I have enough kind of area to work with. Yeah, just kind of work a good amount over it, and then once you're done with that, you just let it dry. And once it's dry, it should have a good matte finish to it, and it should match the rest of your model nicely, and then you'll have a good decal set to it. So yeah, once that dries, I'll show you the final product and what it looks like, and it will be finished. Alright, so it's all dried up and everything now, so now you can see kind of the final product. There it is. It looks pretty good. And here is the other one. So that one was a little bit more awkward because of the way it sat, but the way it will lay, you won't really be able to tell. Alright, so that's pretty much it. That's how I do my decals. As you can see, they sit pretty well. And with the micro set, it gives a pretty nice painted on look, which hopefully you can see in the camera here if we can get to focus. So it looks pretty good. Alright, Until next time.